Hybrid cars won. The EV push failed. And plug-in hybrids, PHEVs, are quietly turning into the new scam. Look around in 2026. Full EV stock is piling up on lots. Used EV values are dropping faster than anyone expected. Manufacturers are quietly walking back their all-EV by 2030 promises. And what's selling? Hybrids. Regular, full hybrids, especially the boring Toyota-style ones everyone called transitional 10 years ago. At the same time, you've got this flood of plug-in hybrids, shiny PHEVs with huge official miles per gallon numbers that in real life are often not doing what the brochure says, and in some cases are doing the opposite of what they were sold for. I'm GearHead. I don't care what's trendy, what's the future, or which badge is on the hood. I care about how systems actually work, how they age, and who ends up paying when the marketing dust settles. If you're trying to make sense of hybrids versus EVs versus PHEVs in 2026 and you don't want to be the one buying at the wrong end of that cycle, make sure you're subscribed. This is exactly where people get hurt. Let's break down 3 big ideas. Number 1, why the EV push failed, or at least stalled for most normal buyers. Number 2, why full hybrids quietly won the everyday car war. And number 3, why PHEVs are the new scam if you don't use them exactly right. First, why the EV push failed. Not failed as in EVs are dead, they're not. They absolutely have a place. But failed as in the idea that everyone would be in a full EV by now? It didn't happen, for very specific, very predictable reasons. EV advantages on paper are real. There are no tailpipe emissions, instant torque, a very smooth drive, low fuel cost per mile if electricity is cheap and you charge at home, and they are mechanically simpler, no oil changes, no exhaust, and no multi-gear transmission. But 3 big real-world problems killed the universal EV fantasy. Problem 1, infrastructure and lifestyle mismatch. Governments and car companies treated people's lives like a spreadsheet. They said most people drive less than 50 miles a day, so a 250-mile EV is more than enough. What that ignores is that millions of people park on the street or in shared lots with no easy charging. Apartment dwellers can't install a charger even if they want to. People in old houses face weak electrical panels and expensive upgrades. Rural and ex-urban drivers face long distances with few chargers, and a lot of people just don't want to think about charging at all. They just want to go. Yes, there are plenty of people for whom EVs fit perfectly, but not enough to match the scale of the hype and the investment, especially when, problem 2, fast charging reality is worse than the brochure. Real-world DC fast charging often means slower speeds than advertised, especially once batteries warm or fill, chargers that are down, occupied, or throttled, queues on busy travel days, and charging curves that front-load speed then crawl from 60 to 100%. That's fine if you're an EV nerd and build your life around it. It's not fine if you're a tired parent, a working commuter, or anyone who just wants to fill and go. On top of that, in many places, fast charging isn't cheap. Public kilowatt-hour prices plus demand charges can eat the EVs are always cheaper argument alive quickly. Problem 3, battery anxiety and resale uncertainty. Even if you understand that modern packs are pretty robust, the market thinks used EV equals maybe the battery is half dead. So what happens? Used EVs, especially early ones with short range, crash in value fast. Newer EVs with better range undercut the desirability of older ones. Tech marches on, and older EVs look old way faster than older gas or hybrid cars. If you're not leasing, that's risky, and most people feel it, even if they can't put the math on it cleanly. Take all that together: infrastructure, fast charging pain, resale fear, and the EV story shifts from everyone will be in one to EVs are great for the right people. That's a very different game than governments and automakers originally sold. Meanwhile, full hybrids just kept winning quietly. Think of a Toyota hybrid synergy drive car. The Prius, Corolla hybrid, Camry hybrid, RAV4 hybrid, Highlander hybrid, Lexus RX, ES, and NX hybrids, the Honda PHEV, Ford's better hybrids, Hyundai and Kia hybrids, and so on. What do they actually do? They take gasoline, add one or more electric motors and a small to medium battery, use that motor to assist the engine where engines are weakest, at low speeds, in stop-and-go traffic, and during gentle cruising. They recover energy every time you brake, and they shut the engine off when it's not needed. No cable charging, no special parking, no planning your life around plugs. You fill them with gas like any normal car. The hybrid system just makes that gas go a lot further by getting rid of waste. Why did hybrids win? First, they fix the worst part of gas engines, city traffic, with almost no lifestyle change. Hybrid logic is simple. Engines are inefficient at low speeds, starting from a stop, and idling. Electric motors are great at low speeds and starting from a stop. So let the motor do more of that, and let the engine work in its efficient zones. From the driver's perspective, you get better gas mileage, especially in the city, smoother starts and less engine noise, and no behavior change besides maybe it's quieter sometimes. Second, they're proven durable in real, ugly conditions. Look at taxis and fleets. Prius cabs in cities all over the world have 300,000 miles on their original transmissions. Camry hybrids in Uber duty are doing 200,000 plus miles reliably. RAV4 and Highlander hybrids in family duty have barely any drivetrain drama. Full hybrids have been around since the late 90s. Their hybrid systems, motors, inverters, batteries, have been pressure tested for 20-plus years. The weak points we see now are engine-side issues, like EGR and head gaskets on specific Toyota engines when neglected, battery cooling fan neglect if they are never cleaned, and rust and suspension issues, like any old car. Mechanically, hybrid transmissions like Toyota's e-CVT are some of the least brake-prone units on the road. And third, they work everywhere right now. No matter where you live, you have gas. You have mechanics who can handle basic internal combustion engine service. You don't rely on a charging network that might or might not exist. Hybrids can quietly cut fuel consumption by 30 to 50% for a massive chunk of the driving population with almost no infrastructure changes.
That's why when the EV push stumbled, hybrids were right there, already mature, already understood, and suddenly looking very smart. Hybrids didn't win on ideology, they won on practicality. So where do PHEVs, plug-in hybrids, come in? In theory, they're the best of both worlds. A big battery you can charge, real EV-only range for daily commutes, a gas engine for long trips and when the battery is low, no range anxiety, flexible energy sources. That sounds perfect, and in very controlled, very ideal cases, it is pretty good. But here's why PHEVs in 2026 are often the new scam, if you're not paying attention. Problem 1. Extreme complexity for marginal extra benefit if you don't plug in religiously. A PHEV has a full gas engine and associated systems, fuel, exhaust, cooling, lubrication, and emissions, full electric motors, a larger high-voltage battery, a more powerful inverter and power electronics, charging hardware like the onboard charger, plugs and wiring, and often a complex multi-mode transmission. You're carrying 2 complete drivetrains. If you plug in every night, mostly drive within the EV-only range, and use gas only on long trips, you can get insane fuel consumption figures because most of your energy is grid electricity. But the average driver? Many PHEV owners don't install a home charger. They rarely plug in because it's inconvenient. They rely on gas most of the time. Then what you have is a heavy, complex vehicle burning fuel almost like a normal engine, dragging around a big, half-used battery with additional maintenance and future failure points. The promise of "I'll plug it in all the time" is only as real as your behavior. Manufacturers and regulators assume the best, thinking that PHEVs will be mostly driven on electric. The reality is that many are just being driven like heavy hybrids, or worse, like regular gas cars with extra weight. Problem 2. PHEVs look amazing in CAF and WLTP tests, but not in real life. Regulators do fuel economy and CO2 tests on set cycles. PHEVs often start those tests with a full battery, spend most of the cycle in EV mode, and use very little gas in that specific test. The result? Official numbers like 120 miles per gallon equivalent or 1.5 liters per 100 kilometers. In the real world, especially with no regular charging, with highway driving, and with cold climates, actual consumption can be 3 to 5 times those numbers. Fleet studies in Europe have already shown this. Company PHEVs where drivers never plugged them in were effectively just thirsty gas SUVs with complicated drivelines. From an engineering perspective, that's insane. You've added cost, weight, and complexity to satisfy regulations, not to deliver a real-world benefit. Problem 3. The engine in a PHEV can age worse because it's used less and used wrong. PHEV marketing says the engine will last longer because you use it less. Mechanically, that's not always true. Engines like getting to temperature, staying there for a while, having consistent oil flow and regular cycles. In a PHEV that's mostly in EV mode, the engine might sit for long periods with old oil. When it does start, it may be asked to deliver high load quickly, like during hard acceleration with a low battery. These are short, sporadic runs where oil doesn't stabilize and moisture doesn't fully burn off. That's a great recipe for condensation in the crankcase, fuel dilution in the oil, and corrosion in surfaces that don't see regular, stable operation. If the owner also thinks, I barely use the engine, I'll stretch oil changes, it's even worse. So ironically, the PHEV engine can be in worse shape at 100,000 miles than the engine in a normal hybrid that runs regularly and gently. Problem 4. Too expensive systems to worry about at high mileage. At 10+ years and 150+ years, a PHEV carries the risk of battery degradation, high-voltage component failures, engine-side wear and age, and transmission or multi-mode hybrid gearbox issues. You don't get to remove the internal combustion engine risk like you do in a full EV. You don't get to avoid battery risk like you might in a simple non-hybrid gas car. You get both, stacked. If the car has been used and maintained perfectly, that can still be okay. But if it's been used like a regular gas car, barely charged and maintenance stretched, you've just multiplied risk vectors for no gain. Problem 5. PHEVs are often priced and marketed as eco-premium, but deliver less value than a simpler hybrid. Given the choice between a well-designed full hybrid from Toyota or Honda that cuts fuel use 30 to 50% with very proven conservative tech, and a more complex PHEV that promises 80 to 90% fuel reduction, but only if you plug in exactly as intended, most people would be better off with the first. Especially if electricity prices are high, you don't have a charger at home, and you're not the kind of person who will religiously plug in every night. The scam isn't that PHEVs can't be efficient. They absolutely can. The scam is selling them as a silver bullet, letting the test cycles tell a fantasy story, knowing most owners won't live the perfect PHEV life, and then acting shocked when the real-world numbers don't match. So yes, hybrids won. Hybrids won because they give you most of the benefit of electrification, especially in the city, with almost none of the lifestyle cost. They've proven durable in ugly conditions, bad fuel, bad roads, bad maintenance, longer than any modern EV or PHEV architecture has had to survive. And they work now, with the infrastructure the world already has. EVs didn't fail as a technology. They failed as a one-size-fits-all solution forced to a world that wasn't ready, structurally, economically, or behaviorally. PHEVs are not evil. Used correctly, they're fantastic for some people. But they are not an auto-win. They're a high-complexity tool that requires high-discipline behavior to deliver what the sticker promises. Hybrids, especially the simple full hybrids from brands that know what they're doing, are the boring middle that just makes sense for a huge slice of drivers. If this helped you see through the EV versus hybrid versus PHEV noise and actually understand why things shook out like this, make sure you're subscribed. Next, I'm going to break down something brutally practical. How to choose between a full EV, a full hybrid, and a PHEV based on your actual daily driving and charging reality, not what a politician, an ad, or a car reviewer told you. I'm GearHead. Every drivetrain has a story, and together, we're going to decode which ones make sense in the real world, not just in press releases and test cycles.